What is going on, guys? Welcome back to a new YouTube video, and we're going to be trying a bit of a different format in this video. So let me know at the end of it if you enjoy this style of video. Obviously, it's going to be a breakdown video where I'm going to be taking you guys through what I personally believe is an incredible framework, four-step framework when it comes to actually allowing you to move through your body image challenges, your insecurity, your body dysmorphia. And honestly, you can apply this to just about every challenge out there. And this is inadvertently the exact framework that I ended up using to dissolve my body dysmorphia. It was something that I suffered with for over 15 years. It controlled a lot of my life. And then even after I'd actually built a body that I was confident in, I still had lingering aspects that I've only been able to, I guess, tidy up and heal and overcome since, again, inadvertently following this exact framework that I'm about to take you through. It's also the methods that I've used with countless clients, because I have a lot of people that come to me with body image challenges, with body dysmorphia, with an inability to ever, maintain their physical results, and an inability to recognize the results so they can start showing up and living as this new version of themselves. Because one of the things that body dysmorphia will do is physical progress or not, it's the way in which you show up and live your life, right? Feeling less than, believing this not good enough story, struggling in your relationships to feel worthy or to not worry about being cheated on or whatever it might be. The inability to commit to bigger, higher goals because of the doubts you feel thanks to your body, your fear of being seen, a lack of authenticity, and this just wearing of a mask in your day-to-day life because you don't want people to see you for who you are because there's a risk that they might judge you. Right? This is the rabbit hole and the symptoms of body dysmorphia. And again, this is stuff that I certainly experienced over my journey. So as I said, this framework is something I've now developed in the last sort of 6 months to a year, and I've refined it and I've refined it and I've refined it to the point now where I know the solution for just about everyone's body dysmorphia is going to lie in one of these pillars or in the integration of them. I'm also going to preface that everyone is going to be a little bit different in terms of where they need to focus, right? Some people need more of the inner pieces. Some people need more of the physical pieces. Some people need more of the other two, which we're going to go through. So there is personal nuance in this, but I think as I go through it, you're probably going to understand where your biggest challenge is and which pillar probably needs the most attention, right? So without further ado, let's get into this framework. Now, I call it the 4S framework. And the reason for that is because we're going to be talking about source. We're going to be talking about not destroy. We're going to be talking about story. We're going to be talking about strategy. And we're going to be talking about synergy, right? These are our 4 S's. Now, we're just going to go through these one by one, all right? So starting with source. Now, the reason I include source, this is essentially our reference point. So many of the challenges and things that we have as a result of body dysmorphia come down to the influence of our world around us, right? Especially the opinions and judgments of other people. I know for me, when I was struggling with my body dysmorphia, for so long, the only reason I actually wanted to solve it and overcome it was so I could have the validation of others, so I could be seen to be attractive, so other people would like me, they would think I looked good, so I could post photos and I could get all the likes and the comments and I could have girls in my DMs and all of these different things because I perceived that my body wasn't good enough. And in the world, especially when I got into PT and the fitness industry, I was like, well, I need to look a certain way to fit in, right? To be worthy, to actually have success. And the only way I think I'm going to do that is through the validation of other people. And one of the biggest reasons that people never change or I guess move out of and overcome their body image challenges is because their reference point is always other people and the validation, and they outsource their worth to other people. They outsource their body's progress and whether it's good enough into the hands of the world. And when we do that, we're never going to feel good enough. No progress is ever going to feel enough because there's always going to be someone that looks better than us. There's always going to be someone that just says something negative for the sake of it, right? There's always going to be an external opinion or a body norm or a societal norm that is out of our control, that is of the world, that if that is what we are using to measure who we are, our body, our success, our happiness, our confidence on, there's no amount of training program that's ever going to work, right? There's no amount of nutrition plan or physical transformation that will work, because you are comparing yourself to the world, which isn't in your control. Now, the flip side of this is being connected to God. This for me has been like the cherry on top, which is funny because this was kind of the last piece that I put in place, whereas now it's like the first thing I make sure people have, because I've realized the importance of it. But when you are able to detach from the world, right? When you're able to, I should be writing stuff in. So it's basically God versus the world. And then you ask yourself, where is my reference point? Right. So when we are able to attach to God, now we are not outsourcing our worth and our progress. Right. When we know God, when we are connected to something bigger than us, we're able to understand and know who we are without the world telling us. Right. Ask yourself this question, right? Who was I before the conditioning of the world got to me? Right? Who were you before the conditioning of the world got to you, where you were told who you needed to be, what you needed to look like, how you needed to do things, right? When we grow up in this world and we're conditioned to the norms of this world, we start to lose who we actually are deep down. And when we are constantly putting ourselves up against this perfect ideal that the world sets, we are always going to be less than, right? So this is where the less than narrative is born. Right? When our reference point is the world instead of God. When it's God, and again, this again for me was the cherry on top, I've completely detached from the opinions of others, right? I've completely detached from me being someone just to fit a norm, right? My focus is on, who has God put me here to be? Who does he need me to be? Who does my family need me to be, right? What is the example that I want to set as a result of being put on this earth, right? And when our foundation is rooted in God versus the world, okay, cool. Now I'm not stuck in this comparison headspace, because why would I compare myself to anyone else? Because I know I'm a one of one, because that's exactly how God created me. He created me. He gave me these challenges for me, to become more me, to remember who I am, right? But when we are disconnected from source, when we're disconnected from God and our head is in the world, we're on social media, we're taking in the opinions of other people, we're replaying the negative things that have been said to us in the past, we're only going to ever see our body through that lens. Right? And that's a battle you are never going to win. You can quiet it for a little while, you can have some success, but ultimately that narrative is still going to play, because again, you are outsourcing your worth to other people. You are losing your power, and you are placing your hope in something that you can't control. Right? So where is your reference point? Okay, so diving into your spiritual connection is going to be huge here, and just remembering who you are at a core soul level. Right, now we move to story. Now, story, this is all sort of the, I guess, inner world, identity, mindset, belief systems, self-concept, right? This is where we get into this kind of stuff. And this, for most people, is where the majority of the blockages actually are, because most people know how to train. They know how to lose weight. They know roughly what foods to eat. They understand what a calorie deficit is. And potentially they've actually lost a lot of weight. I've worked with so many people that still struggle with this, even after big physical transformations. And they're like, I should be able to see some differences here, but why can't I? Right? The reason often lies in this second S, in the story element. Now, as humans, we create our world based off of our core story, which is essentially like an actor has a script. There's always going to be some spelling mistakes as I go through this. An actor has a script, right? When an actor has a script, they're like, okay, this is what I've got to say, this is what I've got to do, these are the scenes, and then that creates the movie, right? Humans are no different. We have a core story, which is a set of beliefs, values, language, self-talk, experiences, just all of our conditioning bundled up into this one narrative that basically tells us who we are, right? So we define ourselves based on this story, based on this core story, which we then create our reality from. right? So this is often very unconscious. So this happens without us knowing until we actually bring it to conscious awareness like we are in this video. And for me, again, I had a really negative core story that came about because I was bullied back in primary school. So I had gynecomastia, which is essentially man boobs, excess fat around my chest. So I had a different chest to everyone. And back then, like I didn't get mercilessly bullied. Like it was very low level bullying. But back then, that made me super insecure, super self conscious. I would wear like 2 shirts to hide my chest. I would wear a rashie when I went swimming. I played a lot of basketball in my sort of teen years, and it was my entire life. I would wear a singlet under my top. I would just fear the day I had to go shirtless at training, right? And all this did from that bullying, it created this narrative that I wasn't enough, my body wasn't enough. Because before I even knew what I had, before I even knew that I was insecure, there was part of me, like I was just being me, and it wasn't enough, right? It was bullied, it was mocked, it was shamed, it was laughed at, it was judged. So in that moment, I learned that, okay, if I'm to just be my true authentic self, in this case, it's have my chest on display, then there's going to be pain associated with that. So I would then create a story that's who I was, that became my script. So then I would start to create a world to fit that narrative. So I would create evidence that I wasn't good enough. I would create evidence where if I was to show my body, I would be mocked or shamed. And as a result of that, there would be pain, it would be discomfort. And I wanted to avoid that. So I created this whole story, and I started wearing this mask, right? The metaphorical mask was me wearing 2 shirts or a rashie at the beach because I deemed that to be a way for me not to have this pain. So I did that from when I was, I don't know when that was, like 9 or 10, 11 years old or so, like all the way through till 24, 25. That was who I was. That was my identity. So if I genuinely believed I wasn't good enough, right? So, and this can apply to you because often it is a not good enough story that most people struggle with. So if I believe I'm not good enough for whatever reason, then why would I build a body that I loved and was confident in? Why would I actually do that? That would be in direct conflict. And we can go another layer deeper here and bring the ego into this. And that's a whole another rabbit hole that I go through in my mentorship. But just for the sake of argument, our ego likes to attach onto an identity, and it will then look to protect that identity and confirm that identity by confirming this core story and providing us evidence that that's who we are. So for me, 15 odd years where I think I'm not good enough, where my body's not good enough, where I'm struggling with my body image and how I show up and the insecurity and all these different things, my ego, which doesn't know good versus bad, it was just like, oh, okay, he thinks he's this way, and he thinks when he gets his shirt off, this will happen, and this is where he sees himself in the world and his self-worth and his self-esteem and what he does. So, okay, that must be who we are. So we're going to protect that, right? Because any change is going to be a threat. We don't want that because we like sameness and repetition. So it would continue to provide me reasons why I wasn't good enough. This is the power of our mind. This is how it works. It filters out what isn't relevant and will continue to show you evidence to support your core story. Right? So your core story becomes your script. And if you look around your life, everything is a perfect reflection, right? So your body is a perfect projection of your core story. Right? Deep down, there's some sort of limiting belief or limited identity that if you then connect that with your body image, your body dysmorphia, all the struggles you've had, you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because deep down, I believe I'm not good enough. So of course, I don't think my body's good enough. Of course, I've had people in my relationships tell me that about my body, or they've cheated on me, which is, indirectly telling me my body is not good enough, or I'm not good enough as a whole, right? Your world will be full of evidence to support this core story, right? So when we try to change our body without shifting this identity piece, it'll either be unsustainable, it still won't feel enough, and we will always fall back to the level of our identity. So this is why we see so many people go through an 8-week challenge and they'll lose 10 kilos or whatever, and they're feeling great. But then when the dust settles and the hype of the challenge wears off, they fall back to the level of their identity, which is, oh, I'm not enough or whatever, because they haven't actually done the work to shift the story. Right? They've essentially rented that body, and then they just go back to the old identity. Right? And this isn't just a body thing. Like if you, as I said, if you look around your world and you get to the bottom of your core story, which again, I do within my mentorship, we actually get to the bottom of it. I show you how to actually shift that. But once you identify your story, everything will make sense. You're like, oh yeah, okay, that's why the body is this way. That's why I've attracted these kind of people in my relationships. That's why I've had this success or these problems in my business or career, right? That's why these things keep happening, because that makes sense, right? I believe this, so therefore X, right? We're creating that movie from that script. We're just following the script, albeit very unconsciously. So we need to do the work to change the story, change your identity, rewire those belief systems, start to shift your neural pathways that have just been on autopilot to confirm and for you to be this person who follows this story that is not enough, right? As the example we are using. So again, this is where the majority of the work is. This is where the really challenging work is, because it's hard to see, right? Our ego will always look to protect the old identity, the one we have known for so long. I've worked with people that, I worked with a guy that had inferiority complex for 50 odd years, his whole life, right? But we were able to change that story, and he was able to let go of that within 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure it was. I've got the screenshots there somewhere. 3 weeks of doing this, of deeply changing his story and getting him to see that that is not actually his truth, right? Because that's the last piece. So if your core story and identity limits you and is rooted in negativity, it is a lie, right? It's a lie, but you just accepted it to be your truth because you probably haven't known about this, and it's okay. You've had this confirmed to you again and again and again and again, right? But it is a lie. Anything that makes us feel less than or has that negative feeling and emotion that it brings up within us is alerting us to the fact that it is a lie. Right. So this is where our work needs to be. We need to change this story. It's not something, again, I run 8-week mentorships on this. I run full day events just on the story aspect. But understand your body and everything you're experiencing is a perfect representation of your current core story, inner world, and identity. Right? When we change at the identity level, then everything else becomes easier, right? And that takes us into the third S, which is strategy. So this, again, this is very straightforward. This is your training and nutrition program, it's your cardio, just steps. It's like, yeah, what you actually need to follow. All right. Now, this is where, like, these first two pieces is what most people miss and gloss over because they don't understand it relevant. That is like, oh, I've got body image challenges, so I've just got to get the right program. I've just got to lose the weight, right? Again, that's fine, but eventually you will always come back to comfort and normal and what you know, and that is to the level of your identity and your core story. So this strategy part is important because I detest body positivity from a place of, oh, I'm just going to have to convince myself I love my body because I haven't been able to heal it. I can't change. I can't lose the weight. I'm never confident, right? That is a story issue, right? Body positivity is just gaslighting yourself into trying to love yourself when you can actually go out and create the tangible evidence. So I'm big on building evidence in your external world so you don't have to convince, so you can know. You can look in the mirror and be like, yeah, damn, I look good. I'm happy. Let's go win the day. So the strategy, again, this is the easy part, right? I've been a coach PT for the last 10 years. I've done endless amounts of education and mentoring on how to actually get people in shape, from biomechanics to nutrition to I've put people on stage. So the actual strategy and getting someone in shape is so easy, but I need people to be at the level in which we can do that effectively, right? They need to have all this stuff dialed in. Because if I've got someone that is wanting to lose weight or add muscle or whatever, and they haven't dealt with this other stuff, like, yes, we can have some success for sure, but as I said, it'll be unsustainable or they won't even be able to recognize it. So this is why I integrate these two things. And I genuinely believe I do this better than anyone out there because I need to have them aware of this. We need to do the work on shifting the story part, obviously, and having the source as our foundation. Then when we come to the strategy, it's like, yeah, it's just an effortless byproduct, right? We mentioned up here that your body is a perfect projection of your core story. Well, that will work for us too. When you show up as the man or woman that God sent here, when you show up to be the example and leader and asset for your family, when you show up to prove your younger self, to make your younger self proud and get your body to a place that allows you to live the best life, following your program, eating good quality food, nourishing your vessel, eating healthily, and then dialing in on your macros when that's needed, this becomes effortless, right? Your body and results will become effortless when your story aligns. So when you change your story from I'm not good enough to I am good enough, right? I'm sent by God, then having a body that reflects that is going to be easy because that is in complete alignment, right? What's misaligned is when you believe you're not good enough and you're trying to build a body that makes you feel good enough. It's like, no, you need to change the story first. So for me, now that I am not experiencing this and I've done all this work, for me, transforming my body is inevitable. It's easy. It's just what I do. It's an extension of me because my inner narrative and identity, like I'm in shape. I'm in good shape. I take pride in the food that I consume. Right? I love going to buy good quality food to nourish my vessel. I love training. I love hitting PBs. I love running, all this stuff because it adds to my life and it makes me become more of the man that I want to be. There's no stress, right? I have a setback. Cool. Just get back on track because this is just my life. This is normal, right? So the strategy, again, I purposely don't spend much time on that because it's not anything new. I'm not here to, we don't need to rewrite anything there. It's just get on a good program, get on a good nutrition plan that allows you to make the physical transformation to lose weight, add muscle, whatever, because that is always still going to be the goal. We don't just want to sit in the mental work and the healing work. We want to actually build just unwavering evidence that you are who you say you are. Right? And when you look in the mirror, I want you to be lit up. I want you to walk into rooms as the leader that you are, not worried about other people, not worried about judgment, not comparing yourself, being like, yeah, like this is who I am. This is what I do. Right. And then the last part is synergy, which is integration into the rest of your life. It's also your why. So again, it's all well and good to do all this stuff to build the body, but then, okay, how does this actually fit into the rest of my life? Because if we're just losing weight for the sake of losing weight, I don't think that's going to stick. Because when you have a down day or a bad day or a few setbacks or whatever, we need something to get us out of that hole, right? And it's going to happen, which is okay. But if you're just like, oh, I'm just doing this because I just want to lose a bit more weight, or I just want to feel a bit happier, or I just want to feel a bit more confident, not super motivating. Whereas my why is I just need to set the standard and discipline for my training, my health, and the way I look, because that's going to allow me to become the man I want to become. That's going to allow me to be the best husband and father in the future, right? It's going to allow me to show up with confidence in doing videos like this, right? It's like, why would you listen to me go through this if I didn't embody this myself? So this is a huge piece of my business and allows me to give my gift, right? Having the energy at whatever time it is now, 3:30 in the afternoon, after training and working and doing stuff all morning, to still come here and do this is a result of the way I eat, the way I train, the body that I have. So it's integrated into my life. We don't just want to be a standalone thing. And when I have a setback, because I have them, when I get sick, or when over Christmas and New Year, I ate a lot of food. I probably had 5 or 6 alcoholic drinks, which is probably double what I had the whole of 2025 because my partner's parents were over from the UK. Right? I just got back on track when the time was right because it's just what I do. It's normal, right? I wanted to feel like that. I wanted to feel better because it's an integrated part of my life. It is a value of mine. My body, my health, the way I look, my appearance is a value of mine because it ultimately allows me to be a better man. It ultimately allows me to deliver my gift and impact people and help people in a better way, right? I can't help my clients. I can't help my family. I can't, achieve the things I want to achieve to help others if I was undernourishing my body, if I was neglecting my body, if I wasn't in good shape, if I looked in the mirror and I didn't love who and what I saw, right? So synergy, this is the last part. And again, don't spend a whole lot of time on this, right? Because again, these last two, they just become an effortless byproduct of these first two, really. And then this is a conversation for later, right? When I've had, clients that work with me long term, and it's like, yeah, their source is dialed in. Like we don't even really have to talk about it. Sometimes it's just a reminder if they're having some old challenges pop back. I'll be like, okay, How much time have you spent in the Word? How much time have you spent connecting to God? How much time have you spent in stillness? Like, yeah, cool, got it, sweet, go do it. And they're fine. And their story is daft, right? They understand it. They understand the logic of it. They understand the actual how our brain works, which we go into, the neuroscience behind it. And then they understand what their story is, and how to, again, lean on that identity that they want versus the one that they have been conditioned to believing was themselves, which actually wasn't. When I work with someone for a long time, and again, they have these setbacks, I'm like, cool, bang, source, yep, sweet, story, like, cool, let's have a conversation around that. And like, oh, yep, sweet, got it, just let it slip, all good, let's get back to it. And then it's like we're really dialed in on the strategy. We're really, I guess, progressing their physique, getting them stronger, hitting those goals as we move forward. And then I work with a lot of people on, helping them build their business as a result of this, like becoming the fullest expression of themselves, delivering their gift. It's not always business, but helping them then take this into their life and become an asset for people in their life is ultimately why we do this. Yeah, guys, that is a 4S framework. And as I said, this has changed my life. I wish I had it mapped out so simply like this back when I was really struggling. But your challenge or your roadblock will be in here. And I can almost bet my life on it that it's in these first two, or a combination of the first two. Right. And the other thing is, the last piece is, these all work synergistically of each other. It's not do this, then this, then this, then this. Right. I probably should have mentioned that at the start, but it's like a flywheel, right? These all work to better each other. So it's all well and good to have source, strategy, synergy dialed in, but if your story is lacking and misaligned, then the rest are going to struggle, right? It's okay to have source, story, and synergy in, but if you don't have the actual strategy to achieve the results, right, then that's going to present a different problem. So yeah, your challenges in here, obviously there's going to be your personal nuance, but I promise you, when you detach from the world, anchor yourself in God as your foundation, when you do the work to change and rewire and shift your story, so your belief system and the definition you place on yourself is one that is going to serve you, when you have the training and nutrition strategy and take pride and value that and improving your physique over time, and then you work out who you need to be to show up in the rest of your life, how this integrates into your life, again, pursuing your gift, your purpose, becoming the man or woman that your family needs, and setting the example in that sense, and you get all those things humming, then it's like body dysmorphia who. All right, guys, so I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them down below. If you've enjoyed this content, make sure you subscribe. I also have a link below down in the description, a link to my free school community. So I put a heap of videos like this in there. There are a ton of resources in there. It's other like-minded people that, yes, are having body image struggles, but know they're here for more, right? It's body image, it's identity, and it's becoming the man or woman that God put you here to be. Right, and we explore all the different realms and development of that. And that community is still new at the time of this recording, but I'm keen to build that into something truly epic. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this, get in the community. I've got an email list down below, podcast down below. There's a heap of free resources that you can consume on this sort of stuff. And then as always, if you want to take that next step, there'll be information on my mentorship down below, which is also in the school community. So yeah, I hope this has been useful, and we'll see you in the next video.